All right, boys and girls, we are starting section 6.1, which is Law of Sines, and you can find that in your textbook on page 404. Basically, in this section, we're going to be solving all the missing sides and angles of triangles. You've done this before for right triangles, and for right triangles, you use trig ratios, you use Pythagorean theorem, you use the trig inverse functions, you used all that to find missing sides and angles. But now you're going to be doing this for oblique triangles. Basically, oblique triangles are triangles that have no right angles, okay? And so we're going to start off with example number 1 and doing checkpoint 1, okay? Excuse me for my nails. And so a couple things you should know on page 404, they give you a little diagram of law of sines with some formulas. And I would recommend that you copy that down into an index card because you're going to be using it. It's not difficult to memorize at all. So if you don't, it's not a big deal, but I would recommend to keep your stuff in an index card just to keep it organized and also so that you can use it often. Okay. All right. So we're going to start with checkpoint on page 406. Like I said, for example 1. And another thing that I would recommend is that if you still have trouble with the examples that I give you, is to go over the example in the book. Okay. I don't go over those examples, but that's another resource that you can use. Okay. So in checkpoint number 1, they're giving you angle A, which is 30 degrees, angle B, which is 45 degrees, and side A, which is 32, okay? And then it says find the remaining angle and sides. So a couple things, whenever they ask you to solve for a triangle, what they mean is solve for all 3 sides and all 3 angles. So if you notice here, we have 2 angles, and we're missing another angle, which is angle C. And we have one side, but we're missing the other 2 sides, which is side B and side C, okay? So they're using the uppercase letters for the angles and the lowercase letters for the sides, okay? So real quick, I'm going to draw a triangle. And one thing that you need to know is, by the way, for this one, they already give you a triangle, okay? I would say that a picture is not necessary, but at first, I would suggest that you do it, okay? Now, one of the things that you should know is the way you label your triangle doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to show you. I'm going to draw it a little bit different than in the book, okay? So I'm just going to start with A here, B here, and C here. And I'm actually just doing this on purpose so that you could see that when they give you information, but they don't give you a drawing, that you can come up with your own drawing, okay? Okay, now here's angle ABC. Again, it doesn't matter, and I am doing it different than the book. But where you put your sides does matter. If angle A is here, opposite side has to be A, side A. Here's angle B, opposite has to be side B. Here's angle C, and again, opposite has to be C, okay? And again, we were given A was 30 degrees. B is 45 degrees, and of course side A is 32. So this is all the information that's given, okay? So a couple things we can find. We're going to need to find 2 sides and 1 angle, and the easiest thing to find right away is the missing angle, okay? You know that all 3 angles should add up to 180. So to find that 3rd angle, all you have to do is take 180 degrees and subtract 45 and 30, okay? And that's 180 minus 75, and 180 minus 75 would give you 105, okay? And so that would be angle C, 105. And so you can find that real quick, okay? Now to find the other sides, now I'm going to use the law of sines, okay? So I'm going to use those ratios that were given to us. So I'm going to start with B. And honestly, it doesn't matter in this case, okay? So if you guys notice, according to the law of sines, and I'm going to lift this up just a little bit so you could see, we have B over sine of B equals to A over sine of A. And by the way, you can flip them. It doesn't matter, okay? This could have been in the front because it was in the book, but I wrote it this way on purpose. Now, the reason why I'm going to use these two right here is because I'm given side A and I know angle A. I don't know side B, but I'm given angle B. So the only unknown here is side B, okay? So now I'm going to set it up. Okay, so here we go. So side B, I don't know what that is. So I'm just going to leave it as B. Sine of B, that's going to be sine of 45 degrees equals A, and A is 32, over sine of A, which is 30 degrees. Okay? That's just me setting it up. So let me grab my calculator so I can show you. Okay, I graphed my calculator. One of the things you want to make sure is that, actually, let me see something here. I feel like the language here, yeah, sure enough. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I hadn't used the calculator in a while, so I noticed the language was off. Okay, one of the things, whether you use an app or a phone or a Desmos, is just make sure that it's not in radians, that it's in degrees, okay? So I'm going to go to mode and change that to degrees, okay? Okay, here we go. And so I'm going to put sine of 30, okay, which is 0.5. And then I'm going to put sine of 45, which is this large number. But, oops. But just so you know, I'm only going to take the first 4 digits. And I try to take 4 instead of just like 1 or 2 on purpose so that it's, so I get a little bit more accurate value, okay? And let me grab a second whiteboard so I have enough room. But this is what I had so far, okay? This was the formula that I'm using. B over sine of B equals A over sine of A. Again, lowercase a's and b's, those are sides. Uppercase a's and b's, those are angles. So B over sine of 45, 32 over sine of 30. Notice the only unknown is my B, okay? So now I'm going to rewrite it for you. Okay, so now it's going to look like this. Okay. And by the way, you can put it in your calculator. Your calculator can do the whole work, okay? So now I'm going to have it as B equals 32 over 0.5. And see how right here we have over sine of 45. I'm basically going to multiply sine of 45 to both sides. So I'm going to multiply by 0.7071. Okay? Now I could just enter this in my calculator. Now, if I want the calculator to do my work, I can do it. I can have it do it all. And I'll show you that in a minute. So that's going to be 32 divided by 0.5. And then times 0.07071. And that'll give me B. And it looks like it's 45.25. Okay. So B is approximately 45.25. Now, if I wanted to round, I could. So I did round, but I rounded to the nearest hundredth, so 2 decimal places, which that's typically what I like. You can, B is a side. And notice over here they gave you A as a whole number, so 32. So if you want to round B to a whole number, you can. But I prefer just to leave them as, especially when they don't tell me, I just stick to 2, okay? 2 seems to be I would say the most accurate, so 45.25. Another way you could do it in your calculator, just FYI, if you didn't want to do any of the work, you could just put 32 divided by sine of 30, and then times sine of 45. And you're going to get the same, okay? I just gave you these values just because I wanted to show you that I typically just write down 4 decimal places, okay? So this is our B value, 45.25. So I'm going to write that here, okay? 45.25. Okay, so now we're just missing one more side, okay? So for the next side, I'm basically just going to stick to the same thing. So A over sine of A equals C over sine of C, okay? Again, we were given A side, we were given angle A, we found angle C, but we need to find side C, okay? So we previously used this. So this is already 32 over 0.5 equals C over sine of 105, okay? So sine of 105, that's going to give me, oops, hopefully you could see it, 0.9659. So in order for me to isolate C by itself, I would basically get rid of sine by multiplying both sides by sine. So I'm going to end up with C equals 32 over 0.5 times sine of 105. But remember, sine of 105 is 0.9659. Okay, and then I'm just going to enter that in my calculator. So 32 divided by 5 times 0.9659. And that's going to give me this. Okay. Oops, you know what? I should have divided by 0.5. 32 divided by 0.5. I thought that was a little bit off just because the other numbers were kind of big. Okay, so there we go. 64 times 0.9659. Okay, so C is approximately 61.82. Okay. So now over here, I'm going to put 61.82. Okay, and now we just solve for all the angles and all the sides. So in this example, they gave us 2 angles and a side. So I just had to solve for the remaining angle and the other 2 sides. Okay.